What's up, everybody? It's Alan's Movie Talk, back at it again. Just got back from seeing Better Man, so let's talk about it. Better Man is a musical biopic about the life of Robbie Williams, where he is depicted as a ape. I thought that this was a very interesting and unique take on biopics in general, and I feel like introducing him and having him be an ape the entire time made for a unique experience in a genre of films, in my opinion, that have pretty much become stale and very repetitive. And by taking this approach, I felt like it allowed for the movie to make a character and a person that, not a lot of people, especially in the States, are very familiar with. I didn't even really know who Robbie Williams was before I saw the trailer for this film, and the concept of the movie intrigued me, which is why I ended up seeing it. But I didn't know who he was, but by doing that and kind of not showing us who he, what he really looks like and who he really is, allowed for the story to play out in a way that allows you to really attach and to care about him throughout the film, and kind of understand where he, the way he views himself. So I thought that was a very interesting and unique perspective to do with the film. This movie also just had a energy about it that a lot of the modern biopics don't have. A lot of that has to do with Robbie Williams, just who he was as a person and the character he portrays in the film. I'm probably aware, like every biopic, there were some liberties taken with the story. Not everything that we see in this film is true, but I imagine that he probably lived a life that was very eccentric and that was at least similar to what was portrayed in this film. And I feel like that, again, helped make this movie stand out in a genre where there's just a lot of the same. So I really appreciated that from the film, the energy that this film had. It kept me intrigued, and it did a lot of things to kind of keep you interested and keep you pepped up throughout the runtime. And then to piggyback off of that, I am not a huge fan of musicals. I know the guy who directed this was the same guy who directed The Greatest Showman, which is a film that's very well in high regard. But I'm not a fan of musicals, but I really felt like the musical numbers that they did in this film were actually done very well, where they just didn't focus on the music itself. They used a lot of visual cues and, the environments that the characters are in to make the musical settings a little bit more lively and feel like they contribute a little bit more than what I'm used to from a musical number to the film. That's kind of been my problem, and my overall problem with musicals is that we'll get to a serious point in a movie where I'm liking what's happening, and then they'll cut to a musical, scene, and it kind of just takes me out of the film a bit, and that musical part of the scene doesn't contribute to the rest of the film in the way that I would like. So I felt like this movie did a very good job with that, and I actually enjoyed the musical numbers that happened in this scene. And by taking that approach, I felt like it did a good job of blending the moments and the scenes between reality and fantasy. Not everything that you see happen in this film and on screen in every scene is real, and I felt like it did a good job of kind of like letting you know when we were going to fantasy and what Robbie Williams was seeing in his head. I just felt like they did a really good job with the visualization of the film and the story that they were trying to tell. And then at its core, the film is just a very emotional film. I mean, there was a lot of times in this movie where I felt myself getting choked up a bit. It dives into how your perception of yourself, how everyone else around you sees you, the relationships, of the people around you and how they can impact you, and then how you and vice versa can impact them. And what money and fame and the pressure of being a superstar like Robbie Williams, what that can do to someone, what the struggles of addiction can do, and impact you and everyone around you in your life. So I just felt like there was a lot of emotion in a lot of the story beats in this film, and I wasn't really expecting that. That wasn't really something that when I was interested to go see this film that I thought was going to happen. So I was very surprised about that, and I was very pleasantly, I enjoyed that. So yeah, I thought they did a really good job at kind of bringing the emotions out of you throughout the entire film. And then with the messaging, about everything I just talked about, I feel like the film did a very good job at the end of really wrapping that up and leaving you at a place in the film that felt like a satisfying conclusion and the natural one from where the journey that Robbie Williams went on through this film. So I very much thought that the film ended very strongly. Like I said, I got a little emotional, towards the end and with that ending scene. And I just felt like it was a very natural progression and the right one and a very satisfying one. But even though overall I did enjoy Better Man and did think it was a good film, I definitely had some issues with it. It was not a perfect film. And the first thing that comes to mind to me was I definitely felt like the runtime of this film was a bit long. To me, the opening is very, very good. And very much hooked me into the film. And like I said, I felt like the ending segment, really the like ending 30 minutes, was very well done and it was a very natural conclusion of what they had been, setting up with the story. But I do feel like there are a lot of moments in the middle of the film that it kind of just dragged its feet a bit too much for me personally. And then to kind of this is another issue I have, but it kind of fits with it. I felt like there were moments, in the musical numbers where they would kind of montage through a situation or a character relationship of Robbie's, and you would get through something that I felt like would have been very important and impactful to the story, but they kind of just montage and rush through it, and I didn't really enjoy that. And I wouldn't have had as much of a problem with that if then we didn't also turn around and kind of slug our way through storylines and interactions that I just didn't really care about. So I felt like the choices of when to kind of slow down and when to speed through things, it felt a little bit jarring, right? It didn't feel like it was the right decisions to make in the film. And then, like I said, the fact that, we got a biopic where the lead person is an ape was very unique and was obviously nothing that we've seen done before in these types of films. But I did feel like once the novelty of that wore off and you just looked at it from a story perspective, a lot of the things that they did in this film is very much more of the same that we see in other biopics. Like I said, I feel like biopics in general are a genre of film that is starting to become a little bit of repetitive and stale. Like we kind of know what we're gonna get when it comes to the story out of these films, and like I said, when you take away some of those things that does make this film unique on a story level, it just didn't feel like it offered anything new or said much of anything new. Even though I felt like some of the stuff was effective, we've kind of seen this before, and it's kind of been done better in other films before. And then to kind of wrap up this review, the last thing is that I felt like the tone of the film sometimes was a little bit jarring. You would get a lot of moments, like I said before, there was a decent amount of humor in the film, and there was a lot of moments that had a lot of high energy and were fun. And then we would very quickly cut to a scene that was suddenly very dramatic and very deep and was dealing with a lot of emotional things. So I felt like there was a few times, especially in the back half of the film, where I felt like the tone itself was a little bit jarring and wasn't really properly transitioned between each tone that they had with the film. So that was really just something small that bugged me. But honestly, overall, I did have a good time with this film. Like I said, it was a little bit too long. That was really my main criticism with it. But overall, I felt like I had a good time. It was a high energy, a unique biopic, compared to a lot of the other ones we've been getting lately. In the presentation and what it does with a lot of the musical numbers. So, overall, on a rating scale, I would give this a 3 out of 5 stars. I would definitely recommend to check it out if this is the type of genre that you are interested in. And yeah, so, positive experience for Better Man. Don't know if I'm gonna rewatch it again per se, but yeah, I liked it and had a good enough time with it. All right, guys. Well, that is the first review of 2025 in the bag. Definitely got a few coming up in the rest of the month. A couple movies I want to go see: Wolfman, Companion, and a few others. But glad I got the first one in the bag. So here's to a great 2025, and everyone have a great night.